I'm Andrea Lipinski.
And I'm Keith DeCandido. Welcome to the 25th, yes, the 25th episode of The Chronic Rift. It's our silver anniversary.
Tonight, we're going to look at Japanese animation and see what is so good about it in the first place. But first, a few things to help you
Lon
cope
Sloan
with
is a
reality.
good argument for putting labels on comics. This one should read, warning, this comic contains material that may be deemed offensive to people with taste or at least a rudimentary sense of aesthetics. The Six Voyages of Lon Sloan is available from NBM, 64 pages, $14.95 in paperback, and is available both at comic shops and directly by mail from the
To
publisher.
discuss this are, on my far right, Felix Rodriguez, a freelance illustrator who was on our past episodes of covered art and alternative comics. On my next right, Joe Duffy, a comics writer and editor who was on our past episode of Doctor Who and also on our Roundtable Awards. Joe translates Akira comics for Epic Comics. Then on the other side of Keith, we have Robert Fenelon, the Vice President of Minstrel Press, which publishes magazines on Japanese animation. The first thing that struck me, that seemed strange to me, was that to me, a majority of the characters in the Japanese films or in the TV series seem to have very large eyes. And it seemed strange to me. It seemed almost as though they were trying to imitate a Western culture, whereas in Western animation you don't see them trying to imitate an Eastern culture. And I want to know if this was...
Well, I think that what you're seeing in Japanese animation is not an attempt to westernize the characters. The Japanese animation industry really got going after World War II, and they took some of their visual cues from the most popular American animation of that time. Notably, the best known of the early Japanese cartoonists and illustrators, Osamu Tezuka, has said, in fact, Robert pointed this out to me, that he was very influenced by the Fleischer animated Popeye cartoons, and also I know that he was very influenced by Walt Disney's Pinocchio. And if you go back and look at that material, American animation at that time, the style was called Bigfoot, and it might as easily have been called Big Eye.
Right.
And because Japanese animation became more successful from that period, whereas American animation was kind of dwindling, they stayed with what had been very successful and popular for a long time. The large eyes, the overall exaggeration, almost a childlike distortion of the characters. Although, as a matter of fact, in the most recent movies, they seem to be toning that down a little bit. Eyes are getting smaller and bodies proportions are getting somewhat more
some of their science fiction shows like Z Gundam, Gundam Double Z, a lot of the aliens are different color hair, different color styles, and they vary in different uniforms to stylize different life forms or different life characters they want to have images of. And if a certain character is popular, a certain style is popular, it sort of floats over to other shows and other presentations in their form.
A lot of the male heroes tend to look similar. They have the same kind of hair, you know?
Well, if you saw the stylization when I showed you the Lupin episodes, and how you have 4 different characters, but sometimes the clothes are very similar. It's very European, except for the only Japanese character in it was
stuff for children, and lots of wild comedies for the teenagers and the sub-adults. You'll get a lot of soap operas. You'll also get a lot of science fiction action adventures. For the adults, you'll get some really far-out comedies, and you'll get some stuff that might be a little more adult theme.
That's interesting, because that's one thing you don't see much of in this country, is animation directed towards adults, except just for pure nostalgia purposes. You know, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit was meant to evoke something for people when they were growing up. You don't see as much. Animation in America is considered kid stuff by its very nature.
In the first half of this century, animation in America was mostly aimed at the adults, and to a minor extent aimed at children. It was only during the second half of this century that animation became kiddie trash.
Next week's topic is getting your fantasy and science fiction published.
We'll see you then.
Can we do it? Can you do it? I don't know if this is possible. This week marks not only our 25th episode, but also the 23rd anniversary of this guy. He's been around for 23 years. Keith, happy birthday.
Oh, jeez.
And the 1, and the 2, everybody. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Keith. Happy birthday to
I
you.
thought the conversation was a little short.
Did you? I
It
don't know
proves that
why.
amoeba can last more than 25 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, good night. And we'll see you at ICON.